to the republic for which it stands.
One nation, under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty and justice for all.
Guns, self-defense, concealed carry. This is the Patriot Defense Podcast. From the war room in Idaho's high desert, here's your host, Todd Echols.
And we are back once again. It is a Sunday afternoon, and I am tucked away in the war room somewhere in the high desert of southern Idaho. And joining me today, all the way from Quincy, Massachusetts, is Mo. Mo, how you doing?
I am great. How are you, Todd?
I'm good. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
It's been a really long time. I thought you didn't like me anymore.
Oh, you just never want to come on when I invite you.
Yeah, I'm not fessing up to that.
So, what's it like over there? Is it hot over there this time of year? Like, you guys like burning up? Like, we've been in like triple digits for like 2 weeks now.
No, we don't hit it that hot. No, we don't get that hot. It has been hot here. We get it. It's really humid over here. I don't know if you guys have humidity the way we have it.
No, I'm sure we don't.
It just feels like you're in a sauna.
Yeah.
It's like a sauna. Today's really nice. They actually went outside, and I did not sweat. So that was amazing.
Oh, that's good.
But it just gets, it gets high 90s, but it just feels like a sauna usually.
Yeah, it's been pretty warm here. In fact, I had a little time this weekend. I was like, I should go shoot on the range, and I'm like, look outside, and it's like 98. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
It's too hot. Unless you can get it late in the afternoon, like right before it gets dark, where the sun's not, melting into the back of your head, or you can hit it early in the morning. It is just gross out there. It's really hot, and I feel like I've got some tough students, that they show up and they take classes and stuff, and they're not complaining. I'm the one complaining, and I think it's just me getting older. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So we were talking, actually, speaking of shooting and shooting in the mornings, we were talking the other day actually about some different things, and you said that over there, I don't know if it's just your town or all the little towns around you or what, but they have like the ranges there, like even a public, or I don't know if you guys don't really have public ranges, private ranges. I don't know what you have, but you can't start shooting before noon. Is that what you were talking about?
That's a lot of times on Sundays, because
just on Sundays. Okay.
That's a lot of them. It depends on where they are, how congested the areas around it. I live about 7 miles from Boston. Like, I can see Boston skyline out my front window. So I live in a big city.
My apologies.
Well, I love it, so shut up. So the gun range I go to is in the next town over from me. Again, it's another big city. It's probably like 85,000 people maybe.
Ugh.
And you pass by, like, to get to the range, you drive through kind of like an apartment complex.
Uh-huh.
And then there's like this little access road in the back of it, and you're at the range. So you can't shoot before noon on Sundays.
Okay, but that's not every. That's just on Sundays, and that's probably because that's the days people sleep in, rest, go to church, whatever, right?
Yeah, and otherwise, a lot of the outdoor ranges are dawn to dusk, just because that makes sense,
Well,
for
sure.
the outdoor ranges. Indoor ranges are a different beast. That depends on the club.
Right, got it. Club. That's and it's just so different for me to hear you say that, because we don't. That's not us around here. Like, people will move in from out of state, right? They'll come in from California, which there's a lot of good people even coming in from California, and they aren't used to like the freedoms that we have here, right? So they're like, well, where can I go shoot at? Where's a range? I'm like, what do you mean a range? Well, just go out in the desert and shoot. I mean, I can, usually they call me, and they're it's cool because I get to hook some of them into classes, but they'll call me and they're looking for a place to shoot. Where are you guys located at? I want to come over and shoot. I'm like, well, that's not the way this works. I used to kind of be like open my range up for people to come and like rent like a lane or whatever, but it just got to be too difficult. I have to be here all the time. It would cut into my classes and whatnot. I'm just not, I need 2 ranges for that. But I have these people call, they're looking for a place to shoot, and I end up just sending them like dropping pins on Google Maps and sending them like, here, go to this gravel pit, or here, go to this gravel pit, or people shoot out here, I go to this gravel pit. It's
That is like, I can't even imagine that. So, here we'll go up to New Hampshire, and we call New Hampshire Free America.
yeah.
We're leaving, the People's Republic of Massachusetts. We're going up to Free America in New Hampshire. But even so, like, there's still a lot of private property up there. You're not just going to start shooting willy-nilly in the woods without knowing what you're shooting at or what's behind that clump of trees.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you do have to obey those safety rules, but around here we're surrounded by, we call BLM land. It's Bureau of Land Management. So it's federal ground, but it's just desert. It's just high desert, right? And, there's some state-owned lands that are out there as well. But most of it's BLM, and you just go, and a lot of times the counties will have, I don't know whether they like us doing this or not, but it's been going on for years. They will have what they just call, gravel pits, right, where they go get the gravel for the roads or whatever the county needs this kind of stuff for. And, they'll be pretty expansive. And the people will go and they'll shoot, and they'll just like take over an old gravel pit, and that's where everyone goes to shoot. And unfortunately, which is okay. Unfortunately though, around here we're getting so many people, and so many people are doing this, which is still okay, but they're leaving garbage behind. They're taking out old bathtubs and old TVs and refrigerators, and they're shooting them, and then they're just leaving the garbage behind. And then once somebody leaves a little bit of garbage behind, everybody just starts dropping their garbage. And these places are, even though we're still surrounded by BLM land, these places are slowly getting shut down because of this. And so people just tend to roam a little further out. They shut one place down, and then they go and they find some other place. And then you have people showing up that aren't obeying the safety rules, and they're shooting across a road or whatnot. It's a pretty big issue here. And they're actually talking about they're trying to get the money or find grants or something to build a great big like outdoor range, and I don't know, it's going to be like a county range, and so I don't know if they're going to charge us $5 to go use it, or I don't know how it's going to work, but I don't know. So it is a thing here, but I see it slowly coming to the end as the population starts to grow, and people just don't care. They aren't respectful.
Yeah, that's terrible that people are ruining it. That's that's the, what do they call it, the broken window syndrome?
Yeah, yeah. For sure.
You got one broken window, and then the whole town goes to crap.
Yep. We there is an off-road club that I used to be a part of, Jeeps and four-wheel drives and stuff. And they used to go, and they had this area, and every year they'd get people to, different trash companies or sanitation companies to donate giant dumpsters, and they bring in, heavy equipment and loaders, and they spend like one whole day and just tons of people like cleaning up garbage. And they had these great big dumpsters set up all along like the main road. Like you'd haul the garbage, they'd pick up garbage and they'd put it in there. They'd haul out just tons and tons and tons of garbage every year. And I remember one year, I'm sure it's happened multiple times, they just got done cleaning everything up, and there's these massive dumpsters sitting on the side of the road, right? And you can tell they're just full of garbage. It's like people have picked up all this garbage and put in there. And the leader of the club I was in, he decided, him and another guy, that they'd jump in their truck and they'd run down the road just to make sure they hadn't missed any bags of garbage. They wanted to get them all picked up, And they saw, as they were heading out, they saw some people show up to start shooting. And they were like, I wonder if we should tell them that, hey, your garbage, just go ahead and throw it in this dumpster, right? Or at least take your garbage home, right? And he's like, no, they should know, right? They're parked next to this massive dumpster. So they went down there and kind of cleaned up some more stuff. And about an hour later, they came back, and those people were gone, and they just like unloaded all the garbage out of the car and just like left it sitting right there in the shooting area. You
know what, though? I'm going to complain here. My husband has a bad habit. He'll get undressed and he'll leave all of his dirty clothes on the floor next to the hamper. The same type of thing. You men drive me crazy.
I just undress, and then I just put on the same clothes the next day.
Oh my God, Todd.
Well, if I got a class or something, I get clean stuff out. But if I'm just going to be hanging around here mowing the lawn or whatever, doing a podcast, like nobody cares.
You were just telling me it's like high 90s and you're a sweaty pig.
I don't have any AC in my house either.
God.
Whatever. It's all good, man. I shower and then I put the old clothes back on.
Oh, okay.
Come on out to Idaho.
I know you're trying to lure me out there, and it's almost working, but I really am a city girl at heart. I'm really happy in the city.
I do know that you like skunks, and the skunk population is through the roof this year. There are skunks.
Yeah, but can I own one legally?
There's enough of them, you could snag one and no one would notice.
No. The only reason I care about the legal part is in case it was ever sick or hurt and I had to bring it to a vet. I don't want to get in trouble or have it taken away from me.
We could just bury it and get you another one.
I don't want to bury it. I want to keep a skunk for a long time. It'll be my little.
Well, you just have a new. Every time you got sick, you just get a new skunk. It's cool, man. They're everywhere over here. And if you don't like that,
you must be a terrible father.
We can get. I got 5 kids, man. If you don't like the skunk, we can find you a porcupine. They're cool. They're the cooler animal anyway. So. So you've been out shooting much. I know last time we had you on, you were talking about, you were helping out with these different classes, which I see your posts on Facebook, and you're still doing that. And I think that guy is shut down for a few months during the summer.
Yeah.
But is there a reason why he shuts down during the summer? I just have to know. I'm not picking on him. I don't know him, but is there a reason why he shuts down during the summer? Is it just because there's lack of interest, or?
No. Oh, God, no. It's because his wife loves him and wants to spend time with him. Because he has kids, too. He's married with kids. And
Gotcha.
And his wife would like to, spend some time with them. So,
okay. I just was curious.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, because he's probably, he'll sneak to the range after work some days. And he doesn't even, live near. The range is not between his job and his home. So I hope his wife isn't listening because I just ratted him out.
Yeah, nobody listens to this.
So I'm range safety officer now, certified through your favorite organization, the NRA.
Good for you. I'm instructor certified for them, so I don't admit that openly, though.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But different instructors. That guy is, he's become a really good friend of mine, and I mostly work with him because we just jive. But I do help other instructors sometimes. I'm a 5-foot tall, middle-aged woman, and when there's a guy instructor and he's got women in the class, it's really smart for him to bring me out because if he has women students, I make them feel comfortable, and it's a good opportunity for me because then I get to meet a lot of people. So I've been helping with a lot of classes, and I'd say for the last year, I haven't been a student in a class myself, and I like to take classes. So.
And you took one. You took one yesterday, which was a little out of your comfort zone at first, correct? It really was. And what ended up being funny about it is when I had posted on Facebook, I took a picture of the range with my cup of coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, of course, because I'm in Boston. And I said, and one of my friends texted me, goes, "What class are you taking?" And I told him the name of the instructor and advanced one. And he goes, "I thought that was a cup class." And I said, No, I'm not a cop. And then somebody else later that day is like, "Oh, you took that class with that instructor?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I thought that was for cops." I'm like, "No." And there were cops in the class. Right.
So, a little bit intimidating.
Well, that's okay. What did you learn that you didn't normally learn?
So, and that's the thing. It wasn't, I think that's why I wasn't scared. I was afraid we were going to be doing the running around IDPA stuff, which
it's fun.
I'm not very graceful, and that's fun. I do want to do that, but I didn't know what it was going to be. Plus, going back to the weather, it was hot as hell yesterday. It was so hot. Thank God we had a little bit of shade. There's a little overhang, and there's some trees.
Was it 103?
It was not 103, but I think it was 98.
It's
and
not
so it was
hot.
still hot. Okay. All right. It was not hot. It was cold, and I was freezing and wearing a jacket. But, it started with fundamentals, stance, grip, trigger press, breath control. But we were doing multiple targets. We were doing tactical mag changes and drawing from the holster. Nothing out of the ordinary necessarily, but it was all being done at a faster pace than I've done. We had a shot timer.
Sure.
And, I'm standing between a cop and a competitive shooter. And that is psyching me out. But I wasn't the worst in the class. I can't even tell you who the worst in the class was because there was so many different drills we were doing that I think some people were stars at certain things and other people stunk at other things. And
Cool.
my grouping was much smaller by the end of the class than it was at the beginning. And that's what mattered.
Well, yeah, and in a class like that, everyone gets a little nervous, right? And I mean, if you're a very, very, very brand new beginner and you take a class like that, you probably are going to stand out. But, overall, everyone's, you're not there competing against people, right? So unless you're slowing the class up considerably, which I don't believe you were, everyone is just worried about their own targets. No one's focused. I mean, they're not focused on the other person to see how good or bad they do. If they see that they are struggling, most people are just like encouraging, and they'll give you tips and tricks and try to help you out the best they can. And that's what's cool about in the shooting world, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, what you just said, 100%. That's exactly what it was. Everybody was friendly. Everybody was helpful. Everybody was encouraging, and we all did look at each other's targets, but nobody cared. It was just looking out of, and so the best part of it was, so this was in the morning. It was the Advanced 1 class, and then there was a lunch break, and then there was going to be Advanced 2, and the instructor invited me to stay for Advanced 2. So that tells me he thinks I was ready to move on to the next one.
Cool.
And I thought about it, but I wasn't planning on it, so there was other stuff we had to do. I had to get home and
shooting always comes
be a reasonable adult.
There's nothing reasonable about being an adult.
Yeah, I know. But I had obligations, but that was fantastic. Like I said, I wasn't doing anything I've never done before. Nothing was new. I mean, I still try to do dry fire a few times a week, and I'm doing holster draws from all my different holsters with different carry guns.
Awesome.
I do tactical mag changes, but it's not the same because you don't have the live fire part of it.
Right.
Or drawing from the holster, you don't have the point shooting. That was my favorite part of the classes because I can't do that at my house. And,
right.
Well, you can do it at your house. I can't do it at my apartment in a city of 110,000 people.
How did they teach you how to point shoot? I'm just curious. I'm curious what that was all about. What were you doing when it came to point shooting? Do you mind explaining that or no? Or
I don't know if I'm good at explaining it since it was kind of a whirlwind. But he went into the ready stances: low ready, compress ready, high ready.
Yeah.
And so we all tried out the different, the 3 different ways of ready. First, doing it dry, just going from ready to aiming at the target, and then now look through your sights, your irons or your red dot, whatever you have. How'd you do? And then see what makes most sense for you, for your body mechanics. So then when we actually did the live drills, most of us were just using whatever it was that we felt worked the best for me. For me, it was compressed, which I think I was so used to low ready because that was how I had first taught.
Yeah.
And so compressed just made so much more sense because if you're holding it in right there, at your sternum, and you just pull the trigger, you're probably going to hit the target.
Right.
Without even doing anything. So all you're doing is extending your arms and,
So that's part of the draw. When I teach the draw, that's part of the draw. We don't call it, compressed ready, but that's part of the draw. And one of the before I teach the draw, like in my women's groups or even my men's groups, one of the things I teach them is, let you know how to shoot. We go over all the fundamentals. When we get to the certain day, or we're going to move on a little bit, we'll do this with the unloaded gun first, right? With a red dot or even iron sights, and you're driving the gun out, from your chest, right? The gun's level, it's pointing forward, and you're driving it out and bringing it. You don't want to. We call bowling or fishing, right? You're driving it straight out, and you're learning how to acquire those sights and that sight picture immediately, right? And is that kind of what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I was saying from the low ready, but yeah, from drawing from the holster now, we did, 15 dry, just pulling from the holster,
right.
And then pull from the holster and rock it. And then, pull from holster, rock it, and then marry your hands, and then draw from holster. It's like we were doing constant repetition of dry, just going through each individual
and that's what you have to do. Yeah.
And it was great. And I mean, I've drawn from the holster and shot before, but it was just something about focusing on every little piece individually. Just fundamentals.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, when I'm RSO at a beginner's class, I'll still go through the beginner skills with them, the fundamentals. I'll never have the perfect trigger press. I'll never have the perfect grip, but I hope to, and I'm always working on it.
Well, everyone should.
It was a good class.
Yeah, everyone should go over the fundamentals again. I mean, that's just a good reminder. It's good practice. And they make, you can go over the fundamentals, but then they make like very basic type drills, right? Which will, which kind of like it'll drive those fundamentals home, whether it's trigger press, sight picture, whatever. And on that compressed, not low ready, but compressed against driving it out, I will start teaching my guys with an unloaded gun, right, to place your finger on the trigger, right, and as you drive out, you're taking up that slack, right. As you drive out, you're taking up that slack. So as soon as you get your sight picture, you can just give it just the extra little bit of pressure on that trigger to break the shot. And then we work that into the full draw the gun from the holster type of situation. We work it into that, and it's just all about syncing up. It's a rhythm, right? It's syncing up neuromuscular, all kinds of stuff, right? As you grab that sight picture, you're cracking the shot. And that's how I teach people, too, to acquire the red dots. You can do the same thing with a red dot where you don't come from the holster, but you come from that compressed ready by your chest, and you drive the gun out. And if you don't see that red dot, you don't get the shot. And then you pull it back again, because you got to learn when you're shooting a dot, you got to learn how to find the dot. And there's a certain way to do it, but it's repetition, it's muscle memory. And then if you drive it out and you've got the dot and you've got the sight picture, then you can take that shot. And then you start blending everything together. Then that helps you with the draw. And you know how it all works together for one big happy picture. Are you shooting a dot yet, or are you still irons?
I'm still irons.
Okay, you thinking about a dot?
I'm thinking about it.
Are any of your guns, are they cut for a dot?
The ones I have, no, I would have to get them cut. I think my next purchase is going to be one with a red dot. My problem is going to be is to hide, to conceal on my body. I don't know how much more bulky as it is. It's already kind of tricky. I'm 5 feet tall. It's already kind of tricky to hide a full size gun, and I'm wondering if
the dot doesn't add that. It doesn't add that much to it.
I don't know. Women's clothes are different than men's clothes.
Yeah, and it also depends on which gun you're going to put it on. We're looking at getting. Well, she doesn't know it yet. My wife wants the 365 X macro. That's what she wants.
Oh wow!
So we're looking at that, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and buy it for her. But so we're looking at that, and I refuse to get anything that's not cut for a dot. Like it has to have a dot, be cut for a dot, come with a dot. Whatever, it has to be able to accept a dot at one point in its life. I just refuse to buy a gun that is not cut for one at this point. It's just it's dumb.
They won't even make one. Yeah, they're not even going to make any not cut. I mean,
well, it depends. They're gonna milk every dollar they can. They still. I agree. That's what I think they should do is not make them without being cut for a dot anymore. But they still produce guns with horrible triggers too. And then the next year, all of a sudden, the same gun comes out, Gen 2, same exact gun, but it's got the better trigger in it. So,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they're not that dumb. Okay,
it's a big marketing ploy. And then there's that one person that's got they got the first gen and they wanted the better triggers, and they bought the second gen because they had the better trigger. Then all of a sudden, they have two of the same gun, just 2 gens, and then Gen 3 they come out with the better trigger and it's cut for the dot. So now they got to go get that third gen. You've seen those people. I know you have.
I know those people. I do know those people. Yeah.
So it's just kind of interesting the way it works, but kind of unique that we have you on. It's like we planned this, but it's like I had you on the show today because you live in an area that a state right now that is just coming after your gun rights. Like like crazy. I mean, it's all over. Like I watch you, you're really active in the different, 2A, sites advocating for the 2A and groups like Goal and all that good stuff, especially in your state. And I commend you. But there's this bill coming. I think I got this right here. You can correct me. It's what, HD 4420. Is that it?
Yep, I'm having nightmares about that bill.
And so let me play this little clip. And since I'm in the unique position of having you on the podcast and you as my friend, you can, after this, you can answer some questions and get all fired up and tell us what you know about this bill. So
all right.
I'll go ahead and play this.
So Massachusetts is in the process of overhauling its gun laws. House Democrats introduced a sweeping piece of legislation last month that would essentially rewrite them.
But a gun owners group says the proposal violates the Constitution.
1 year after the Supreme Court struck down the concealed carry law in Massachusetts, Representative Michael Day introduced House Bill 4420, an act modernizing firearm laws.
There can be no dispute that gun violence is on the rise, certainly around the country, but even here in Massachusetts where we have great laws.
The bill rewrites licensing procedures, revamps regulations for training and selling firearms, and expands extreme risk protection orders, also known as red flag laws. It also cracks down on ghost guns.
This is really intending to get at those that are evading our code of laws through the advancement of technology and criminal behavior.
It's so overwhelming, no lawful citizen would be able to comply if this passes. Nobody.
Jim Wallace with the Gun Owners Action League said the new bill goes too far and makes legally owning a gun complicated and confusing.
These laws are more convoluted. They didn't streamline the process like they said they were going to do.
Obviously, you've heard some of their response or some of the criticisms. One of the big ones is that this overcomplicates an already complicated gun law. What is your response to that?
I think if you sit down and read it and look at what it actually will do, it simplifies it considerably. It also, I think, gives our tools, our law enforcement professionals and our neighborhoods the tools they need to combat rising gun violence.
So there you go. I mean, besides that was your friend in there, by the way. I think Jim Wallace, you're friends of his, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I am friends with Jim. He's a great guy.
Yeah, when I was watching that, I was like, oh, hey, I think she knows him. But so this is a crazy bill. In fact, they're saying, I just to let everyone know, I stole that little news clip. Like you can just find it on YouTube. I actually stole that off of a link you posted, which is someone I borrow stuff from all the time. Is a Colion Noir did a great YouTube video about it. So I stole that little section and I kind of made some notes as I listened to his video. But I mean, if this were to pass, it would put you guys as the most heavily gun restricted state in the U.S., I believe. And there's some stupid stuff. I mean, there's tons of them, and I'm just going to touch on a couple of them. Right, one of the rules and one of the things would change is in the state of Massachusetts, you'd never be able to shoot at. It would be illegal for you to shoot at silhouette shaped targets. Is that? I mean, you've heard this, right? That's freaking ridiculous.
No more silhouette, no more IDPA. And the way I see them is the IDPA targets, they don't even look like a person. They look like a USB drive.
Right.
Looks like a thumb drive. Can't shoot at those anymore. And I'm telling you, that guy, Representative Michael Day, you're going to get me so fired up. He's an absolute clown. He's an absolute clown. So the last 4 months, he's held these listening tours across Massachusetts. And it's been at these crazy times. It'll be like Tuesday at 6:30 down in Cape Cod. Nobody's driving down to Cape Cod after work and getting there at 6:30. It's not happening. And it's all being held in colleges and in other, prohibited areas. So we couldn't even carry when we went there. And he lied right to our faces. I mean, I stood there, shook his hand. I talked to him. No, this is not for the gun owners. This isn't for legal gun owners. This is to make it tougher on criminals. There's nothing in this bill. It's 141 pages of bullshit. And there's not one thing. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear on the show.
You can swear. Don't worry. You're good.
There's not one thing in this bill on 141 pages that is going to prevent violent crime. It's not going to punish criminals. It's not going to help mental health. None of it. It's only if you're following the law.
Well, the gun laws, gun restrictions that they want to put into place never benefit anyone but the bad guy. The bad guys, the people meaning to do bad things do not follow the law. They don't care if there's a new law. They don't obey the law anyway. All it does is neuter, well-meaning, law-abiding gun owners. That's all it does. And another thing that this bill would do, would register all firearms, which, we've all heard about that. But not only that, is you have to register all your magazines.
So hold on. Let's back up.
Okay, but this is why you're on here. So
okay. I'm telling you, I know some of your listeners, and they're going to be loving this. They're going to be ranting when they hear this. So all firearms have to be serialized because they all have to be registered. What is a firearm? You and I think of a gun. It's not just a gun. The new definition of firearm is barrel, receiver, frame, feeding device.
Right.
So your handgun has 4 serialization numbers, and all 4 are registered with the state.
That's
plus your spare magazines and spare feeding devices. You got a clip for your rifle, serialization.
Yeah,
it's a firearm. Your clip, your magazine. Every feeding device is now considered a firearm. Also, stun guns. Stun guns are now treated as firearms. It's supposed to be a less lethal self-defense option, but now it's a firearm.
Yeah, they want to know where everything is and who has everything, and they want to. What they want to do is they just want to make it so difficult to own any of this stuff that people just get frustrated. They get lost in the paperwork. They get lost in the in all the legal red tape of the matter, that they're just like, forget it, I'm out. I'm just not going to do it because I'm just afraid, right? I'm afraid I'm going to break the law. It's one of the rules one of the things that this would change would be you can't carry a firearm on private property unless you get permission first.
Unless there's written permission.
Written permission. That's the key.
Written permission. So, for example, let's say that this travesty of a bill passes and I'm going to the gun range. I can't stop at Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee on my way there. I just broke the law. Unless there's a sign saying, guns okay here. Can't stop for gas, so you better fuel up before you take your guns out of your house.
They're pretty much saying they don't want your guns to leave your house.
No, they don't. And God forbid you are a tenant in like an apartment building or a multifamily, because now if you leave and you go onto the parking spot, you cross the parking spot that doesn't belong to you, to your neighbor, you just broke the law.
That's crazy. And so another one that really, they all concern me, don't get me wrong, but you know me well enough to know that I question everything, and I question everything, and I don't like people overstepping their bounds and their rights and anything like that, including law enforcement. Right. One of them, this will allow police to ask to see your permit for no reason whatsoever. No reason. Yeah. It brings new meaning to the stop and frisk. Right.
It is stop and frisk, and if you refuse or you don't have it with you, you just lost it.
That's insane. They can just stop and ask you for no reason that's crazy.
Yeah, even if you don't even have a gun on you. Even if I know people who have LTCs that don't own guns just for whatever their own LTC license to carry. That's what we call the permit up here.
Right.
And they have an LTC even if they may not own a gun. Like it may be that all the guns belong to the husband and the wife has the LTC, something like that. So even if they ask her, she doesn't even own a gun. And she doesn't have it with her because why would she?
Right.
Why would you have it in where are your papers? Show your papers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's the backdoor way of trying to get around this Broom decision. That's pretty much what it is.
It is. It's a tantrum. It's they don't like what they were told.
Yeah, and they're going to come after it even harder, even heavier, even more severe than they did before because I'm pissed and I'm going to show you.
Now, I am curious, though, and this is all speculation for me, is I'm curious how many cops, though, are going to do that stop and frisk. Because now, for the first time in 25 years, there are no exceptions for law enforcement in this gun law bill.
Right.
Cops have been able to own things that we have not. What's considered an assault weapon in Massachusetts is also exactly what the cops all have, is a patrol rifle in their cruisers.
Right.
But I can't own that. But that's a patrol rifle. But off duty, the cops can own certain things. They've had certain allowances. This takes away all exemptions. Once they are off the clock, once they no longer are working for the government, they're no more protected than anybody else. And, I know people have their opinions on cops or whatever, but here's the thing. I mean, you arrest a scumbag and he's out on bail because the cops didn't do their job, and you went to Applebee's with your family and you can't protect yourself, there's more likely they're going after him than me.
Right. So this is really interesting, though, that they all of a sudden are the same as you once they're off the clock, right? So it'd be interesting to see how this works out, because, and I'm not classifying all law enforcement as this way, but I know quite a few law enforcement, and I know law enforcement guys that are, they'll puff their chest out and they'll kind of in a roundabout way tell you why they are better than you. Not all of them, right? There's some really good ones out there, and I'm friends with them as well. But, we've talked about it in the past. In fact, I've talked about it on this podcast. You got to be really careful. Law enforcement, they say that they'll stand with you. They won't allow this. They won't allow that. Well, and then they'll come out and they'll say this stuff. But the question is, if it comes down to it, will they really? Right? Talk is cheap.
Thing.
But now
it's their job. So what's going to happen at that point? I mean, obviously, I have a lot of cop friends, and the ones I surround myself with are very pro-Second Amendment.
Sure.
So, I mean, I like to think they're going to do the right thing if the time were to come. I don't know. I don't know what they would do in their place. I don't know what I would do, but it is interesting now. So going on with talking about the cops is the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association wrote, how long is this? I think it's 17 pages. I printed the whole thing out.
Yeah,
a 17-page report. Yeah. And I carry it in my purse just in case I ever meet somebody that I want to talk to about it, and I have parts highlighted. But in the last page, it says, recommendation, it is strongly recommended that the Massachusetts Chiefs of Police Association not support HD 4420 as written.
And I think I think that's fantastic. And so I mean, I don't like this bill. Don't get me wrong, but hopefully you will have law enforcement. It sounds like you do, at least on paper. At least that's what we've seen and read. You'll have law enforcement more on your side, because pretty much they're in the same boat as you as soon as they clock out for the day. Right. They don't get the special exceptions, right? Which allows them to kind of, if they were not a good cop or not a good whatever, if they think that they're better than you, which normally would allow them to keep rights that you don't have, because they might be labeled more of the elite. So this will be interesting. This may give them more reason to stand against it.
Yeah, I mean, as it is, I know plenty that may turn a blind eye here and there to something that's not necessarily, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I mean, I'm not naming names here, but I'm just saying there's definitely, that's not really a just law there. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with this. I'd be shocked, some of the cops I know, to even bother doing the stop and frisk, unless... to stop and frisk, because it's unprompted. There's no reason for it. I can't imagine somebody just coming up to me, being like, "All right, where's the LTC?"
Has there been any pushback from the guy you said you hate, the guy that came up with this, the congressman, the senator, whoever it was, from law enforcement? I mean, about law enforcement and how they've come out and said, you guys need to stand up for your rights. Like, this is unconstitutional. We're not going to support this. Has they come out and said anything about that?
I don't think I understand your question. Has who come out and said it?
The people that are pushing for this law.
Oh, so what's interesting is, I think in Massachusetts I'm bad at the number of reps. There's a lot of reps. 25 of them are Republican, so 100 and something are Democrats. That's just what it is up here.
Uh-huh.
And what we're hearing through the grapevine here, from the reps that do talk to Goal, gun owners action week, is that even a lot of Democrats are saying to Representative Michael Day and the Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, and saying to those guys, we're not voting on this unless you have a public hearing. Because they've been having secret meetings, they've been having closed-door meetings. They won't allow gun advocates in. They won't allow civil rights advocates in. They won't allow LEOs, any law enforcement professionals in. It's just they have a 3-page summary of the 140-page bill. And that's another thing that I have printed up to show people. I'm like, it doesn't even mention the things that are actually affecting me, the normal people, the normal law-abiding people, the one that says that I cannot carry for my self-defense anymore.
Right.
But so even a lot of the Democrats are pushing back. And then in those closed-door meetings, because so many people now in Massachusetts have been reaching out to their to their legislators. In those meetings, reps were asking questions of Michael Day and Ron Mariano that they were not prepared to answer. They were not expecting to be asked. They don't know the answers. And for Michael Day to say, see, I'm getting all heated now. Michael Day to say, oh, it's simple, read it. Screw you, dude. I've read it 3 times and I still don't understand it all. And I know what these terms mean. His own staff can't answer questions about this. They don't know what's in the bill. He did not write this bill. I don't know who wrote this bill, but I'm telling you, it was nobody on Beacon Hill.
So when is this all going down, as far as like, when are they going to vote on this? When are they going to have a hearing on this? I mean, what's the date? What's the end date on this look like?
Well, the speaker wants to push it through Russia and have it done have it voted on before they go to their August break. If they were to follow all proper procedures, because this was even a late file. It's like this was pushed in at the last possible moment.
Yeah, for good reason.
And they've been suspending rules to push it through. He wanted to have it voted on. Funny enough, the thing that's the saving grace here is the Senate actually got involved. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. You have it in this committee. It's not supposed to be there. It should be in this other committee. So now the Senate and the House are actually arguing amongst each other with what should happen to the bill. And that's what's stalling it.
Gotcha. So, how do you guys, I mean, you know, I'm just talking to you, Mo, but I mean, you're part of Goal, how do you guys think this is going to end up going? I know what you want, but what do you think's going to happen? Is anyone, kind of talking about what they think is going to happen with this? Do you guys honestly think this is going to go through? It's going to be challenged, obviously.
I feel like it's 50-50. I think when certain information comes out, it kind of deflates the majority of us. But then something else comes, it's like, oh, well, that's great to hear that just happened, or then you'll hear, oh my God, this just happened. Oh, well, now Plymouth Police Department just posted on the Facebook that they're totally against it and they want people to write to the, so it's like, it's very roller coaster. I really can't accept defeat.
Right.
I'm too competitive for that. So I'm just,
well, it sounds like it's
holding hope.
Yeah, it sounds like it's probably pretty up in the air, and it's hard to determine where it's going to go, especially since you said all these secret meetings, and even Democrats are like, "What?" Know, it's been all secretive. We don't know anything about it, and it's like, I guess you can only hope that they would vote against it just because the pride gets in the way. They weren't let in on the little secret.
Oh, that would be great. I don't care what reason they I don't care what reason they use for voting against it.
What it boils down to too is they want your guys' guns. They want control is what it is. So they don't want you to have firearms, just like it isn't even on the national level. And it's not that they have anything against firearms. They have everything against you having a firearm. But you know what? They're okay doing whatever, because why is that? Because they hire out their own security, right? They hire out their own violence. They're going to still be protected by people with firearms, and you can't protect yourself, and you can't afford your own personal, security team, right? So they don't care what happens to them because they're still surrounded by people with firearms.
Oh, I'm telling you. So different state houses have different rules. I don't know what Idaho's like, but Massachusetts, when I go to the state house, I can't bring a gun, I can't bring a knife, I can't bring pepper spray.
Yeah.
But there's state troopers at every door.
Yep. So in Idaho, it's just we talk about it a lot on the radio show I do. In Idaho, was it last year? I think it was last year. One of the they were talking about guns in schools, right, and trying to allow teachers to carry or something like that, trying to figure that out on the state level. We had one of our local guys here come out and say, and this is what he said. He goes, all you need is those signs on the door that says no weapons and no firearms. And we're like, we kind of called him out on the radio show, and we're like, well, that's really easy to say, because let's just back up a minute. So you made that decision where? In Boise at the Capitol building, right? That in the State House. That's where you made that decision. Guess what was right outside your door? Someone with a firearm protecting you, securing you. Let's put those signs right on the Capitol building. Let's put those signs on the Capitol building and get rid of the people with the firearms. It's very interesting that you can make those decisions when you are, for our children, that a sign is good enough to protect our children, and that's all that we need, but yet you're surrounded with armed security the entire time you're up there.
Right. So now what you're saying about the sign, so what Massachusetts wants to do is they want to do the opposite, where instead of a sign that says this is a gun-free zone, to put up a sign and say guns okay here. So now in the report from the Massachusetts Police Association, I just want to read a few sentences to you.
Sure. That's
in this report. They said, so it's section 173, prohibited areas. This proposed section was the foremost significant concern of all chiefs who reviewed the bill. Creating gun-free zones beyond the scope of courthouses, prisons, and schools has proven to be a practice that does not prevent crime, and in fact encourages criminals to seek out these areas as soft targets of opportunity, where their chances of meeting resistance will be minimal. Criminals do not follow rules. And then a few paragraphs later, says, we feel this practice would lead to additional calls for police service at locations that do not have this sign, as they would be targeted by criminals. This section is harmful to merchants and commerce and will create anxiety and panic, as well as potential economic loss. Many chiefs noted that the creation of prohibited area gun-free zones outside of current school secure facilities creates a potential constitutional rights infringement and is in direct conflict with the recent United States Supreme Court decision, New York Sports Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin, which affirmed the rights of citizens to carry firearms for personal protection and the Second Amendment U.S. Constitution. So, I mean, that's on page 1 and 2 of this report. And I'm telling you, these legislators aren't reading it. The guy right here says criminals do not follow rules.
They don't care.
You put these signs up, the criminals are going to go to every business that does not have the sign.
Well, it's almost like they're trying to be, think about this, right? It's almost like they're trying to be friendly to the criminals. We want to keep people from dying, so we're going to put up this sign that says that firearms are allowed here instead of not allowed, are allowed here, and then maybe that'll keep people from dying. It'll allow the criminals to go to those safe places to commit their crimes.
Exactly. The criminals know exactly where they do not want to.
It's ridiculous.
You're putting a target on these, well,
either way, either way, there's a target, and I think it's everyone complains about the gun-free zones. This is a gun-free zone, no guns allowed, and they complain about those. And I think I've always say in the past is those gun-free zone signs. Those symbolize state-sponsored killing fields. That's all they do. So they're taking this sign thing that we all complain about so much, and they're turning it around, thinking that they're being smart, right? They're turning it around. They're taking our complaint and turning it around on us. You guys. That's what they're. Right. In my mind, that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, they are. They think they're doing something by changing it, but they're not.
Well, it's a big FU. That's all it is.
It is. Oh my God, the entire bill is. Now, right now, the way mass law is schools, the airport, courthouses, federal buildings, you can't bring guns in there. Anywhere else that has a no gun sign, like, say, Target, or I was going to say Walmart, but I thought it would be more fun to say Target. Yeah.
I pick on Walmart all the time here.
But Walmart will let you carry in there, I'm sure. But, any of these places, that have the sign, that's not in mass, that's not a law, that's the store's prerogative. So the worst thing that could happen is if you went in there and they saw that you were concealed carrying, they would just ask you to leave.
Yeah, that's what
you
it
know,
is
you're not
here.
getting in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some states, you know, they can call the cops, and that's
it's a gun crime.
Criminal.
Yeah, it's a firearms charge,
Right.
a gun charge. Where here, if you can be there, you need to leave. If they see it and they don't want it there, even if you legitimately see a sign and you carry past it, they can ask you to leave. And then if you don't, then they'll call law enforcement in, and it's trespass. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I try not to even frequent any place that has a sign, not because I care to obey their sign, but that they are not the type of business I want to support with my money.
Well, yeah.
I don't have much of my money, and if I'm going to give money, I want to give it to people who believe in, like, freedom.
Yeah, no, I get it. I
Things
just
like that.
Yeah.
You know.
I just don't even give a shit anymore. Unless I'm going to go to federal, unless I think there's a chance I might go to federal prison, I'll avoid those places with the firearm. But other than that, I just whatever.
Well, you know, I think everyone has a bit of a morbid sense of humor, you know, a dark sense of humor when something's serious to them. So, I mean, the joking up here, maybe it's serious for more people than it should be, but mostly joking is that, well, you know, only the first felony is the problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Once you're a felon, you can do whatever you want because the laws in Mass are very, very criminal friendly. So my life would actually be a lot easier, I guess, if they thought I was a criminal.
Yeah, they're putting up signs to tell you where you can and can't go to commit your crimes.
I know, they're making it.
They want
so
you to
easy,
know
so.
that this might be an unsafe area and there's guns could be present.
Yeah, somebody might protect themselves here. I don't want to go there. Thanks for letting me know. Michael Day.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to keep us well, I'm sure you will. We might have to have you back on. If this thing, I mean, it's already heating up, but if there's any big breaking news, I see I hear me finding the music that breaking news. And breaking news. And here we go to Quincy, Mass with Mo Palmer.
God, and hopefully it's good news. You know, that's what I'm hoping for is that, you know, the bill has died. And so that's what I'm hoping for because this is just brutal. Because here's the thing. If this thing passes, then, you know, it looks like Mo in Boston is going to be Mo in Idaho.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, would that drive you to Idaho? Mo, you would love it here, Mo. We just hit enough people in this town that now we are now required by state law. I don't know if it's like a city thing that someone put in a long time ago, or if it's state law. But we just got enough people in this town that we have got our first public transit system.
Dude, now you're talking.
Where it's nothing crazy. It's a couple cars owned by the city, but it's a step in the right direction for you.
That's exactly what I need. I need public transportation. I love that.
And I think your husband, you guys could bring Quincy Eats over here. And there is enough, I'm dead serious, there is enough little towns here. I see enough people complaining about the Uber Eats and everything else, the DoorDash, all that stuff that you guys could dominate.
Well, I'll have to let him know that. He doesn't want to move to another place with snow. This is where our big disagreement is. I don't want to go somewhere hot. He doesn't want to go somewhere with snow. We probably would have already left Massachusetts if we could have decided on a state that we agree on.
I don't think we get quite the snow here that you guys get there.
I think you're a liar because I've seen your Facebook post.
That's just the last couple of years. The last couple of years have been a little different.
Oh, no, you've been plowing your range in like April. So we don't get snow.
But he could come up here and fish where Ernest Hemingway fished.
Ernest Hemingway fished up there?
Hell yeah.
Excuse me, brother. I didn't know this.
Yeah, you could fly fishing. You had sturgeon fish. You name it. There's fishing all over the place. He would love. I've never even talked to your husband. He'd love it up here.
You know, I think you need to visit Boston before I can even consider moving out to somewhere in a bunker in Idaho.
That's a long trip. That's a long trip, Mo. That's all. I've seen the pictures. That's just a lot of people. I just don't know.
It's good people. We're good people. We're good.
I need to go up there, and I have to find a safe place or something. I'm not sure.
Don't be a baby. You'll be fine.
I'd move to Oregon if they change their ways over there and their political leanings. I'd move to Oregon. We talked about this last night via text. I would move to the Oregon coast and never look back if they change their ways. And I will say part of me has really, even now, part of me has weighed the pros and cons. About I just love it over there.
Oh, here's another one. Here's another thing that this bill is going to do.
Okay.
It's basically going to spit on FOPA. Right? Are you familiar with FOPA?
No, I don't think I am.
I hope you do, so that I don't have to figure out what it stands for.
Okay, well, just explain what it is.
All right. So, here's the example we give out here on the East Coast. Say you live in Maine and you're driving to Florida or Virginia, or somewhere where you can carry your starting place and your ending place states. You are legally allowed to carry a firearm, possess a firearm. As long as you don't stop, you can drive through a state that you can't. So if you live in Maine, you don't have a Massachusetts LTC, and you're just going to drive through Massachusetts, don't stop. No, don't stop to see Aunt Mabel. Don't stop for gas. You just keep driving. You are allowed to do that under federal protected law. And it's FOPA, and I can't think of what the acronym stands for, so you got to look that up.
Sure.
So, for what now Massachusetts is saying, because they do whatever the hell they want, is they're saying that common carriers need to have LTCs, and people driving through have to have LTCs.
Ooh, they're hitting. They're hitting everybody.
And they have to have their. So if you're driving through, you have to have all your firearms, receivers, frames, feeding devices, all serialized and registered with the state as well to drive through. A state that you're just on the highway. You're not stopping.
So for example, if I come from a state where I don't have to have feeding devices such as magazines and whatnot serialized, but if I'm traveling through your state and I'm used to doing that over the past years and being legal, now to do that, I have to have all those things serialized.
Yeah.
Holy, even though I don't live in that state.
Yeah. So the same thing now with common carriers. They're like UPS, FedEx, all of them. They have to follow the new Massachusetts state storage definition, which is locked in the secured in a locked container.
Mm-hmm.
A room or a store front, like a gun store, right? You have it all in the glass case. You have bars on the windows. You have locks. You have alarms. You have all that. No, they all have to be individually locked up now.
Wow. So what they're essentially doing then is they're making it so Mass doesn't do business with firearms anymore. They're making it so the firearm manufacturers are going to be like, to a certain extent, like California, like we're going to require micro stamping or this or that. Well, we're not doing that. Well, then you're not selling here. And so they're going to force firearms manufacturers to be like, well, I guess our guns are not available in Mass.
It's going to put stores out of business. Yeah. It's going to be whatever handguns are in the state will be the only handguns ever in the state again.
So if this passes, how quick you moving?
It would be a money thing. It would be when does it actually take effect, and how fast can we pack up? And like, my family's owned this house since the 60s. I got lots of stuff in this house. I suppose I'll just leave most of it. I'm looking at my notes, and I have one specifically that I want Magnum to hear.
Okay, he'll be listening.
Okay. So if you are going to do any repairs or modifications on a firearm, you have to get prior authorization from the state.
Even if it's your own firearm?
Yes.
So if I wanted to purchase a drop-in trigger from Timony, then drop that right into my Glock, I would have to get
prior authorization from the state.
Oh my gosh.
So I know a lot of people who, use different grips on their guns when they do different competitions.
Grip modules,
they may change their grip halfway through a competition. You need prior auth from the state to do that now.
Even if your gun comes with different size grip modules, like if you're going to change that, you got to get authorized. Is that how that works? Oh my gosh.
Yep. And you have to provide the state an itemized list of parts that you're using when you're modifying or building a gun.
You're just going to make it so they're just trying to make it so difficult to sell a firearm in that state.
And I've been putting like up on Facebook, and I have a lot of friends that are not gun people. I just do, I got a lot of friends on Facebook, and they're not real life friends, but they're friends on Facebook, and a lot of them are anti-gun, and they don't understand why I keep saying, I will be a felon if this passes.
Yeah.
It's just like that clip you played of my friend Jim Wallace there when he said, it's impossible. Nobody can comply.
Yeah. Well, they don't want you to comply. Yeah.
It's impossible. It's just, yeah.
I say you put the for sale sign up tomorrow. Get it on the market. Okay. So if it doesn't pass, you can just pull it down, and you're good to go.
Okay, we'll think about that. I got one more.
Yeah, you're good.
As a trainer. All right. So currently, the procedure to get a license to carry in Massachusetts.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's what we're used to. You take a safety class, an NRA home safety class.
Sure, that's not ridiculous, but yeah.
So you have that. So, you pay for that class. You do that, and then it's a $100 application fee. Some towns will also require letters of recommendation. Some will require proof of live fire. Before Bruin, some were having you qualify specifically with them, like Boston, but I don't think they're doing that anymore. I'm not positive, because I think Boston still does whatever they want. But so now, you cannot own a gun. You cannot touch a gun in a gun store. You cannot buy ammo. You cannot possess components of ammunition without an LTC.
It's ridiculous.
Okay? So, like, if I don't know, if my next door neighbor wanted to buy me ammo as a gift and they don't have an LTC, they can't buy me a box of ammo.
Like they'd have to present their LTC at the store to buy ammo.
Yes.
Are you guys going to be allotted as like so many like so many rounds of like certain size ammo purchases that you can make every year, or?
There's a reason why I only buy ammo in cash and I reload.
But you can't have any components of ammo without. Well, you do have an LTC now, so.
Yeah, I do have an LTC.
See, it'd be good.
So it's just the home safety class. You're just learning.
The safety class I think is important. It's just.
And you're learning mass law, and it's a good class. It's good. But
I think it's crazy. It changes from city to city, though.
That does drive me nuts. And that's actually in the police association report. They mentioned that's been a complaint of theirs anyway, that it shouldn't be that way, that a town should not put additional requirements above like what the state says.
Yeah, it's municipality laws is what it is. So
now the new training mandate, before you can get a license to carry, you cannot touch a gun in a gun store without the LTC, remember. So chances are you've never touched a gun. It's possible, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take the safety class and have a written exam. You have to have injury prevention and harm reduction education. You have to have active shooter and emergency response training, de-escalation and disengagement tactics, live firearms training with the state police.
So this sounds slightly, maybe not completely, slightly reminiscent of what just got passed in Oregon.
This is SWAT training.
Yeah, this is what got passed in Oregon to a certain extent. Not the whole law. I'm not comparing the two, but way you said that you have to you have to get this permit, but you can't touch a firearm without this permit. You have to go get this training, but it's like they didn't think it through. Like, how can you go get this training and learn how to do this if you can't touch a freaking firearm without a permit? And then they didn't have anything put together to teach anyone. Like, nothing was.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and when Oregon's went into effect,
no
there was
teachers certified.
Yeah.
Who's certified to teach it? It's not been created.
Yeah.
And if you're under 15, you can't touch a gun. Period.
Holy cow! So much for getting the youth off of firearms and wanting to do that, because the key. About the time my kids, and they were, at least my oldest son, right? He was into firearms. He was into hunting. I mean, he still is to a certain extent. By the time he turns 15, he's so in another world with girls and, that kind of stuff that if you haven't got him by then, you're not going to get him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's, I could keep this show's getting long and I feel bad for that. I mean, I could keep throwing out just, and by the way, you also can't do this. Oh, by the way, you also can't do this. It is so bad. I'm on all the emails. I'm sure you're on them all too. Firearms Policy Coalition, NRA, Gun Owners of America, Gun Rights, National Gun Rights Association.
I'm not on the NRA one, but yeah.
Second Amendment Foundation.
Don't tell your friends; they'll all hate me.
Well, they're all going to be listening to this show, so now they know. Now, and that's the thing. I was actually shocked when I got an email from the NRA saying, hey, got to stop this bill. I'm like, oh, my God, they're actually paying attention to Massachusetts. They usually don't bother with us because we're such a lost cause.
Well, what did they say? Did they say, hey, we got to stop this bill, by the way? Can we get some money from you?
I'm sure they said that, too, but they were saying to contact. Well, they're all saying it though. Every one of them is asking for money because they don't want to do litigation.
But their leader's not buying $40,000 suits either. Most of them.
That's a fact. But at least in their email, the main thing was they're saying if you live in Massachusetts, you need to contact your representative. You got to contact the Speaker of the House.
And that is good. I agree there.
And that's what it is. And I heard that the reps are getting really pissed off at the amount of phone calls, letters, and emails they're getting.
They should be.
They're hearing from hearing from people they've never heard before. That makes me so happy. Now, they might ignore us all, but they can't say they didn't know that we, the people, are pissed.
Yeah. Well, everyone just got to keep the heat up. They just have to keep calling. I mean, that's what we had a guy over here. They were going, I forget which law. It wasn't even a gun law, I don't think. But they asked, hey, why did you pass this? This was like most people in Idaho didn't agree with this. And they were told, why did you pass this? And they're like, you know what? We get phone calls and we get emails. And they said the majority, we get from both sides. And this woman said the majority of the emails I got, which wasn't that many, were from people that wanted this bill. So that's the way I went. So it sounds good to me that everyone's calling and they're pissed and they're against it, right? Too many times, people and we're sucked into this whole social media thing, which social media is not a horrible thing, right? But if someone just jumps on there, and I'm not knocking on you, Mo, or anyone else, right? Because I've done the same thing, and I think you've gone above and beyond and actually called people, right? But a lot of times people will get on. Well, a lot of times people will get on social media and they'll say, "I'm against this." And then that's where it stops. And it's like, nobody reads that. Like, nobody cares. That doesn't do anything. You're not getting a hold of the right people. Your representatives, whoever, they are not going on Facebook and they're typing in to the search filter, Massachusetts area, how do people feel about this new gun bill? And it's not pulling up the post where you said, I don't like it. They don't know unless you get a hold of them. Too many times people just spout off on Twitter. They spout off on social media of any kind, and they think that it's a done deal, right? They've made their point. They've done something. They have done nothing.
And that I'm not really that shy. So, in all these Massachusetts gun groups on Facebook, you got these people that are like, oh, I will not comply. Oh, well, we need another revolution. And they're saying all this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I see.
Yeah, because I got you in some of them. And I'll write, I'm like, please, if you won't even call your representative, you would not have signed the Declaration of Independence. You would not have thrown tea in the harbor. You would not have picked up arms against the British. I don't want to hear it. You don't even have the balls to call your representative.
Well, those Facebook pages though that you're referring to, I'm sure we're thinking of the same ones, right? Those groups, right? They're good that you can pass information around, but they're freaking ridiculous. They're just...
Well, yeah, some are ridiculous, some are good. There's some that maybe I've only added you to our ridiculous groups because there are some actual done transfer of information, good information. And but I'm calling everybody out. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Like it's to the point now that I'm going to these political events a few times a week, and my rep and my senator see me, and they're walking the other direction.
No, that's good.
They know. I have their cell phone numbers, and I text them, and I email them, and I call their offices, and I track them down at local events.
That's good.
On the 4th of July, I walked right up to our new police chief while he's heading to the start of the parade in one of the neighborhoods to introduce myself to him, to talk to him about the bill, just for a few minutes. I mean, I don't care what it is, and it was great.
You know what you need to do, Mo. You're interacting with these people, and you're asking questions, and you're putting yourself in the position that you're able to see them and run into them, and you're gonna laugh when I say this. I mean, you're doing great work. What you need to do is you need to record it, and you need to put it like on TikTok or something. I'm dead serious. You need to start a Mauve per Guns TikTok channel or something. But I mean, I'm serious, and put that out there, and it'll get passed around like wildfire.
That's a good point. I probably would have. I've never thought to do that. At this point, though, they're all avoiding me.
Well, at this point, you can just start. You can start now. You never know when you're going to have a good interaction. Or a good one versus, good as in being good, or good as like you catch them in a lie.
Yeah. See, I needed you to be like
your cameraman
media guru. I didn't even know. Yeah, my cameraman. That would be fantastic. All right, when I move to Idaho, I'm going to stir up all sorts of trouble. You follow me around with your cell phone.
Yeah, we'll do that. You need to come over with your cell phone and the GoPros, and you need to record some of my classes for me.
Look at this. I haven't even moved. I already got a job.
You already got a job. I'll pay you in range time. It'll be awesome. I'll pay you in range.
And I don't have to.
I'll pay you in range.
I don't have to pay.
What?
I was going to say I don't have to pay for club dues anymore.
No, I'll pay you in range time and chicken eggs.
Hey.
Yep.
You may have just sealed the deal there.
There you go. I get like 20-something eggs a day, so you need some, I'm pretty sure.
I definitely do. I do.
So, well, Mo, it was great having you on, and it was good to talk to you again. I see we talk all the time on Facebook and text and whatnot. But I tell you what, I'm dead serious. We joked about it, but if something happens, if there's some kind of breaking news or anything like that, let's revisit this in the next couple of weeks maybe, and just kind of see if there's been any movement or any changes. And, we don't even have to make a full podcast about it. We could just do like a section on the podcast, right? A 10-minute deal, 15-minute deal, and just see where it's at. You're like my insider.
I am your insider. Look at that. You should still come out here to visit the East Coast. It's beautiful.
I know. And I've seriously looked at different runs and stuff out there a few times, but I don't know. We'll see. Someday, Mo. You need to get out here. You need to, no, God, no, way too much pavement.
Why not?
It's too much pavement.
Too much. Oh, you're such a baby.
It's hard on my legs, Mo. I'm old and fragile.
Okay, all right.
I run on. Speaking of that, how's our mutual friend? Is he doing okay today? Have we checked in on him?
He did it. Well, the last time I looked, he did he's doing the Lake Placid Ironman, and he did the swim in like an hour and 40 minutes, and the last I saw he was biking, but I don't know if he finished that yet.
I haven't looked. I've been kind of busy all morning, so I feel like a bad friend.
Yeah. And I'm talking on my phone, so I can't really look at the screen to check for updates on the app right now.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what. I will let you go. You stay on. You can stay on and listen to me do my big finish, okay? You got to hear my big finish. So,
big finish. Make it good.
Make it good. Yes, right. I'm sorry I'm about a week late. It's week late. It's been busy. I had a race. I've been recovering. I've been eating lots and drinking lots of water. That's what's been happening here. But if you like this podcast and you listen to it, I certainly do appreciate it. download this one, check it out, share it with your family and friends. That's always very, very helpful. And I'll be back. I know this one's a little late. I'll be back probably middle of the week with another one. And if, like always, if you got any comments or questions, a story to tell, anything, you can call me. You can text me. Area code 620-794-6223. That's area code 620-794-6223. I got quite a handful of people I'm chatting with that actually have gotten a hold of me because they found me through the podcast. And it's fun. It's how I fill up my days when I don't have any classes. So do that, and I will catch you guys middle of the week. Thanks. Bye.